New Hampshire's Accessible Electronic Absentee Voting System makes absentee voting accessible to persons with a print disability who will not be able to or who do not wish to cast their vote in person at a polling station. What is a print disability? A print disabled person is someone who cannot effectively read print because of a visual, physical, perceptual, developmental, cognitive, or learning disability. So, a print disability prevents someone from accessing information on printed material in a standard way and requires them to use alternative methods, like a computer, to access that information. And the law requires that materials like absentee ballots be made accessible to persons who can't read a traditional ballot. In New Hampshire, the Secretary of State's office manages election materials. You'll find a lot of good information there. According to their website, New Hampshire's accessible electronic ballot system allows a voter to receive and mark an absentee ballot using their own personal computer. The marked ballot, after being secured in the affidavit envelope, must then be returned to the city or town clerk by conventional means. So, if in the past you've used the accessible voting system to cast your vote in person and you're now wondering how you're going to vote this year from home, this video is going to walk you through those steps. The first step is to request your accessible electronic absentee ballot. The second step is to wait for your absentee ballot to arrive. And the third step is to cast your absentee ballot. Let's walk through those steps one at a time. Before we begin, it's worth pointing out what you will need in order to be able to request for and vote by accessible electronic absentee ballot. You will need a computer with internet access, a printer, a valid email address, and because the form you'll be filling out is a PDF, you will want to be sure that your browser allows you to fill out PDF forms or that you have downloaded a free PDF reader such as Adobe Acrobat Reader. Step 1. Request your accessible electronic ballot. You will need to download the application from the New Hampshire Secretary of State's website. A link to that website is included below in the description. To download an application for an accessible electronic absentee ballot, visit the New Hampshire Secretary of State's webpage. There are 3 pages to the accessible electronic absentee ballot request. On the first page, you'll fill out your name at the top and you'll sign and date at the bottom. It is legal and acceptable for you to type your name as your legal signature. By signing, you are agreeing that you actually live at the address that you've indicated on page 3 and that you do have a disability that prevents you from voting privately and independently using a paper ballot. Additionally, you're acknowledging that you'll be using your own computer to access this ballot and that you understand you'll be transmitting some of your personal information, such as your phone number, address, and email address, over the internet. You are also acknowledging that you understand you will have to print your completed accessible ballot using a printer and you will not be able to email in the completed ballot. Finally, you acknowledge that your absentee ballot will be hand counted and that it is essential for you to provide both your email address as well as your phone number. On the second page, there are 5 sections. Starting at the top in section 1, you will want to check the first option if you are already a registered voter in your town or ward, or you will want to select the second option if you also still need to register to vote and wish to have those materials sent to you as well. The second section is where you will indicate why you are submitting an absentee ballot. There are 6 options and you will check 1. The 5th option indicates that you are unable to vote in person due to a disability. The third section is specifically for submitting a ballot due to inclement weather. As long as that is not the case for you, you may skip section 3. In the 4th section, be sure to select the appropriate election that you are requesting an absentee ballot for. Select the first option and fill in the date for a primary election or the second box and date for the general election. If you are only requesting a ballot for the general election, there is no need to mark Republican or Democrat in the next section, Section 5. However, if you are requesting an absentee ballot for the primary, you do need to indicate your political affiliation. The third page of the form is where you enter your contact information. Once again, you'll enter your name, and additionally, you'll need to enter your home address and your mailing address. Both of these are very important. Your home address is used to verify your voting registration, and your mailing address is where you'll receive your affidavit envelope for your ballot. Again, even though you'll be able to vote electronically, you'll need to print and place your ballot in the affidavit envelope. One other note for this section. Where it asks for your home address, it also asks for your ward information. Ward numbers are only used for cities, not for towns. So if you live in a town, you can leave this blank. But if you have any questions about your ward number or whether or not you need to fill this out, you'll want to contact your city or town clerk's office. Additionally, you'll need to enter your phone number as well as your email address before you once again sign and date the form. As before, your typed name is acceptable as a legal signature. Then, Section 7 outlines the different methods to verify your identity. There are 3 options. Include a copy of your photo ID, personally present a photo ID to the city or town clerk prior to receiving an absentee ballot, or include a notarized signature on the form. If someone assisted you in filling out the form, there is also a space for them to sign and print their name as well. Great job! You've made it this far, but you still need to return the completed form to your local city or town clerk. You have a lot of options. It may be mailed by the postal service, faxed, hand-delivered, or emailed. You'll want to contact your local city or town clerk's office to get their postal address, fax number, or their email address. Step 2. Waiting for your absentee ballot. The New Hampshire Secretary of State's office has provided the steps and information discussed in this video. After you've submitted your application to request your ballot, there's still some important steps for you to take. First, you'll need to call the New Hampshire Secretary of State's Election Division at 603-271-8241, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., to notify them that you have submitted an application to use the electronic voting system. Great! So you've notified the Secretary of State's office, and now you're waiting for the ballot to be made available and for your voting materials to be mailed to you. While you wait, you can go to the Secretary of State's website to track your absentee ballot. The link will be in the description. From the website, you'll be able to verify the receipt of your application and obtain the date when your absentee ballot materials were mailed to you. Remember, you won't receive an actual paper absentee ballot, but you will be receiving other materials, including the envelopes in which you will return your printed ballot. A reminder that in addition to physical mail, you will also be receiving 2 separate emails from the Secretary of State's office. One email will have the link to the Accessible Electronic Absentee Ballot voting site, and the other will have your PIN number. Step 3. Casting your accessible electronic absentee ballot. In order to vote electronically, you must use the email link to access the system, where you will need to authenticate yourself as a valid user before you can begin voting. Before you authenticate yourself, there's some good information to know about what you'll find on the Accessible Electronic Absentee Ballot homepage. At the lower right portion of the page, there are 2 buttons. One is a link which opens up to provide information about the system and also about navigating with a screen reader. Importantly, this is where you'll find the privacy statement, which states in part that we do not collect information about you other than what your election official has shared with us to facilitate this service. We do not collect information about your activity on this site, and we do not collect or store information about your vote selections. What that means is that no one will know who you voted for because you use the system. If you have questions or comments about the system, you are encouraged to reach out to the Secretary of State's Election Division via phone at 603 271 8241. This number will be in the description. The other button you'll find on the main page allows you to adjust your user preferences. There are 3 font sizes: small, medium, and large. There are also several different color options for your ease of viewing. They are full color, high contrast, light mode, and high contrast dark mode. Once you have set your preferences, you'll need to hit the back button to return to the main page to log in. Also note that the information page and the preferences page can be accessed from any page of the system and even while you are making your voting selections. Back on the main page, you'll need to enter your name and date of birth as it appears in your voter registration records. You will then be asked to enter your unique voter PIN that you received in a separate email. In this video demonstration, we are using the state primary election ballot. The process will be the same for the state general election ballot. You're finally ready to begin voting. You can expect your electronic absentee ballot to be several pages long. For each section, you'll be provided directions to select one or more individuals for that office. At the bottom of each section, you'll have the option to indicate a write-in candidate. It is not required that you vote for each office. You may indicate your choice by clicking on the candidate or candidates of your choice using the Enter key. If the instructions for that office indicate you may vote for more than one candidate for a particular office. However, do not vote for more than the number of candidates stated in the instructions. For any office, you may also use your computer to type in the name of a person who is not listed on the ballot and whom you want to write in as your selection. Use the next and previous buttons to move to the next office or the previous office. When you complete your selections and review your ballot, you'll be prompted to download the instructions and the electronic affidavit. Access the electronic fillable affidavit by clicking on the Download Instructions. You can open and complete the fillable PDF. Type your name on the form as your legal signature. Your signature certifies under penalty of voting fraud that you meet the requirements of having a print disability to vote using the absentee electronic system. Although you can complete the electronic affidavit electronically, it must still be printed and mailed in. Again, to protect your privacy, nothing is transmitted through the system electronically. Alternatively, if you don't wish to complete the electronic affidavit, you can complete the affidavit envelope, the smaller of the 2 envelopes provided by your city or town clerk. The next step is to print your ballot. Notably, when you click on print, it may not open the printer dialog automatically, but rather export your ballot as a PDF file, which you can then print. When you are done printing, fold all the pages of your ballot. You'll insert them into the smaller of the 2 envelopes you received from your city or town clerk. Seal that envelope. Again, if you do not wish to complete the electronic affidavit, you can complete the affidavit envelope, which is the envelope your completed and folded ballot goes into. If you have someone assist you with the envelopes, that person may enter his or her name and signature on the line on the affidavit envelope. The printed name and signature of the person assisting the voter is a substitute for the voter's signature on the affidavit. Do not put any other materials in the small envelope. Again, it should only contain your ballot. If you are not a registered voter and are submitting a complete voter registration form with your absentee ballot, complete the voter registration form, voter registration affidavit, which does require a witness signature, and prepare copies of identity and domicile. Fold these completed documents and insert them in the larger of the two envelopes. Print your completed affidavit, fold the affidavit, and insert it in the larger of the two envelopes that you received from your city or town clerk. The return envelope, the larger of the two envelopes you received from your city or town clerk, should already be labeled with your domicile address and the address of the city or town clerk's office. If these labels are not already on your envelope, this information must be written in. The whole package can then be sent by mail or delivered in person to your city or town clerk. If you opt to return your voting documents in person and you are using a delivery agent, this individual can return the sealed documents to the city or town clerk on your behalf. You do not need to be present. And a final and important reminder in New Hampshire: mailed in absentee ballots must be received by 5 p.m. on election day. Ballots can be returned in person to the clerk up till 5 p.m. the day before the election by the voter or the voter's delivery agent. Ballots can also be delivered to a polling location by 5 p.m. on election day. So again, get your absentee ballot in early to ensure that your vote counts.